Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Taurus, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of May 2023. I hope you're well. Happy birthday season and all that. Before we begin, if the reading resonates with you and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That's the first link in the description box. And there are also links in the description box to my private community and the 3-month overviews that I've done for each of the signs. I think I've even put in the description box what cards I use, so if you interested in the decks and stuff like that, it's all in the description box. So Taurus, let's have a look and see what is going on with you. Could I have 3 cards for Taurus, please? Oh, there's the first one. We have the Knight of Pentacles. That's Virgo energy right there. Very supportive for you, Taurus. What about current energy for Taurus, please? We have the 5 of Pentacles. Don't panic about that. What's coming towards Taurus, please, for April? We have the Justice card. Okay, we've got the 10 of Swords at the bottom of the deck. Now, although there are 2 fairly uncomfortable energies here in these cards, I'm not getting too much of a wave of negativity off this at all. So let's get some clarifiers out and see what this is about, because the 10 of Swords represents the end of a cycle, and this indeed actually is the good 10 of Swords. I like this one. It speaks of age and wisdom and maturity and the end of a cycle, quite frankly. It's a completion of sorts. So let's have a look. Tell me about the Knight of Pentacles, please. Thank you. We have the 3 of Swords. Knight of Pentacles here. We have Ace of Wands and the Knight of Wands. Tell me about the 5 of Pentacles, please. We have the 2 of Wands. And we have the World card in reverse. Interesting. Tell me about the Justice card, please. We have the Chariot, the Star, a Pheasant, and the 7 of Wands. With the King of Pentacles, there you are, Taurus, at the bottom of the deck. This is quite interesting because it feels like there's something a little bit, I wouldn't necessarily say complex. I think it has been complex for you, but I think there's a simplicity that is starting to arrive in your life. It's quite interesting. The recent Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that just happened in Taurus was in my 5th house, and I'm feeling very strongly a need to simplify everything to do with 5th house matters for me. Taurian energy is very, very strong at the moment, is what I'm trying to say, at least anyway. And although you have a knack for taking things down to their component parts to keep it simple, stupid, right? You know, that saying, keep it simple, don't overly complicate things. I think there are aspects of your life that have been unnecessarily complicated, and it's been difficult for you to work out how that is, right? How is it that this is complex? How is it that there are so many moving parts to this thing when it should just be a little bit more simple than it actually is? And I think the answer is in the cards here. So we start with the Knight of Pentacles in your recent past. Like I said, it's Virgo. And it is that energy of commitment and discipline and taking, one step after the other. It's not actually quite it can be a little bit complicated because it's Virgo energy, and what Virgo likes to do is atomize things, right? So whether you're looking at it in terms of putting one foot in front of the other and that being, one way of dealing with this, or this need to try and break things down to its component parts. And I do feel like as I'm speaking, that's what we're going for here. It's the breaking down of what it is that is making everything a little bit slower than it should be. Generally speaking, Taurus likes to move slower than the rest of the zodiac anyway. I mean, you're fixed Earth. It doesn't really get any slower than that. But there's a mutability in the Knight of Pentacles, as there is mutability in the Knight of Wands. And I think what is really clear here, Taurus, is that you are ready for a change. Now, I've just mentioned the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that has just happened in your sign. I think even for the most rigid Taurus, change is in the air. And for some of you, there's been a degree of discomfort about a certain area of your life that is now, kind of being highlighted and being like, why the fuck am I still in this, where it's all, messy and complicated and I don't like it. And I want to change. I want to be able to do things differently in this sector of my life. And it's interesting that the Three of Swords should be showing up there, because the three, as we know, Three of Swords is emotional pain in some sort of way. Generally speaking, it is when information and emotions meet together, and that point in the middle changes perspectives about things. The thing is, though, with that Three of Swords, I don't feel like that's anything new for you. I don't feel like it's just some, sudden shocking news that's come in for you that's had you reeling about something. I mean, this feels quite, it feels like quite a static Three of Swords that's existed for a while. What we're talking about is dismantling emotional responses that do not serve you anymore. Because these are the things that are standing in the way of you having whatever it is that you want to initiate with the Ace of Wands. I mean, with the Knight of Wands, there's always not exactly an impatience, but a desire to get out there and do. The Knight of Wands is about being very much in the moment. It's about adventure. It's about excitement. It's about craving those things in a particular area of your life, and which area it be, it will be, may well be quite different for each of you. But I think this Three of Swords on its side is an indication that whatever it is that has held you back, whether it's a negative narrative, emotionally speaking, whether it's some sort of inner critic sort of situation, or whether do you know what I feel like? I feel like, Taurus, you're bored as fuck of having the same emotional loop go round and round again. I don't think that you're bored of doing the things that you're doing, but I think that you're looking to expand and bring in more things. Like the desire to experience more is always really, really strong when we have anything about the Wand suit appearing here. But this, even just the way that I've put this Three of Swords here, it's getting in the way of these Wands cards. I want to let's pull out this World Unknown up here. Let's see if there's anything additional that it wants to say. Because the Knight of Pentacles might well have been either the feeling that you have been kind of treading water for a little while, where you've been trying to work out what exactly this Three of Swords is. It's like you can perceive that it's there and it's getting in the way of something, but maybe it's unclear as to what the root of that is, or just how far it spreads out. But for others of you, you may well just have been engaged in the activity of breaking all of this down. Again, getting it down to its component parts, keeping it simple. Challenging yourself. I feel like you've been doing this really quietly, Taurus. I don't think you've been making a big song and dance about it, but I do think it's been occupying your mental processes for a while, because this pull, and it's interesting even that I'm recording this on a new moon in Taurus right now. There are seeds that you want to plant, and in fact those seeds probably have already been planted, but there's an expansion. There's a desire to live much more of that than what you have been living before. Tell me about this. What do we have here? Yeah, that's the Lover's card. It's the card of conscious co-creation. It's the card of, in some ways, it's a card of bringing people together and union and harmony and all those kind of things, right? It represents Gemini in the major arcana, and after your season, we will indeed have Gemini season, and Jupiter will be moving into Gemini. But this feeling that there's an alignment coming in, or there has been an alignment coming in that has seen you shift very consciously and wanting, more importantly, wanting to shift very consciously towards something that feels much more wand-like in nature than this Three of Swords. It's historic, is how it feels to me. It's not a new thing. but it's something that's starting to feel tedious. We just don't really want to bother with that anymore. So when we come into your current energy, it makes an awful lot of sense that we have the Five of Pentacles. This card is associated with loss and lack and poverty of all descriptions. It can be spiritual poverty, emotional poverty, creational, creative, rather than, let's not make up words, creative poverty. It's a sense of not having what you need. And for me, when you really dig into that card, that's what this is about. It's about your basic needs not being met in some sort of way. Now, whether we're looking at, Maslow's hierarchy of needs and it being like your housing situation, your income, those are all possible. But it feels like it's more of a soul kind of yearning for you, Taurus. It's like, I want to be creative. I want to be... You're right here at the bottom of the deck. I feel like you want your external life to reflect what has changed so dramatically in you. Not just in the last few months. And I think everybody's... Well, shit, I've said before, like, I feel like I'm a completely different person. Oh, gurgle. Here in May than I was at the start of April. April really was quite a roller coaster, but there was a lot of very informative stuff that was coming up, and as it was coming up, I was kind of processing it and being like, well, holy shit, okay, this is fine. It's expansive. Like we talked back in 2020 about how you were a bull and not a cow, and how actually you were supposed to be taking up space. And I think this is a concept was something that blew a lot of Taurians' minds. Like the amount of feedback I got about that from people just saying, holy shit, like, yes, that's the thing. Well, it feels like you're going from, say, bullock to full-blown bull now, taking up even more space, being even more assertive about what you need, not just with people, but with yourself and with the universe too. Like, it feels like there's a dialogue here. We've got the Two of Wands and the World card in reverse. And the World card reversed is quite interesting because it says, no matter how much you have changed thus far, there's one last push that needs to happen. The Two of Wands is the consideration of what it is that needs to happen. And it's interesting that I said, we've got so much stuff going on here that you've been trying to dismantle, you've been trying to work through. Arriving at this realization that the Five of Pentacles just simply will not fucking do anymore. Like, you are worth so much more than the little you have permitted yourself. And it doesn't matter if you're a completely different person to who you were 4 years ago and you have much more than you had 4 years ago. Here it's like, well, I've changed again and I want to take up more space now. I want to be more creative. I want to be more of a visible and positive presence in the world. The question is, what do I need to do to affect that? And it is about the doing. We go from the Ace of Wands there to the Two of Wands there, which is lovely. We've got a progression. But the real action happens in the Three of Wands. Well, when we start to be able to see it outside of ourselves, it happens in the Three of Wands. This question of how you tie up a cycle that is tired and old and no longer reflective of who you are, and what it is that needs to change both in your mind and in your heart to really submit to this new version of you, is what seems to be occupying your mind at the moment. Now, let's just get another card out here, because the Two of Wands is it's given to be a crossroads energy. That's what we call it, because there are choices here. There are decisions to be made about the direction of travel. You arrive at a crossroads. You can go left, you can go right, or you can choose to do something else. I mean, if you have access to a helicopter, you can go straight up. The point is, you've arrived at a point in time where the things that you've been carrying around, and even perhaps your idea of yourself, is like a black pair of trousers that are just a little bit too tight. And you're like, this is no good. So I'm going to take these off and I'm going to put something a little bit more me on. Something that I can maneuver around in a little bit more. You know, it's like trying to do some sort of physical exercise whilst wearing like skinny jeans or something. Like it's not going to work very well. We have the Ten of Cups. Now this card can sometimes talk about family, but for me it talks about a wider community. It talks about like-minded people who are all in the process of sorting their own shit out too, who are coming together to create something that is more than the sum of their parts. It's interesting that we have both the Ten of Cups and the Ten of Swords here on the table, and perhaps this is part of the decision-making process for you. But even the Ten of Swords here, it's not the unpleasant one. It's not the left for dead one. It's, I have learned so much. I am now so tuned in to the universe and this absolute awareness that there is so much more going on in the world than just this material business here. I want to expand into it. And in order to do that, an old cycle has to be dropped. And it's an old mental cycle and an old emotional cycle. I'm big on acts of demonstration. I've talked about this before to the universe. It's insufficient to just know something. To a degree, it's almost insufficient to feel something too. Although that is a step beyond just knowing something, right? An intellectual appreciation of something is not the same as emotionally connecting with that thing. The step beyond that is where you completely modify what it is that you do to show the universe that you're ready. This is a thing, this is happening. I'm on board with what you want for me because I want it too. I said, it's taking this internal conversation that you're having and it's getting ready to put it outside of you. We've got the Nine of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck there. And that's about where you put your energy. It's about how you manage your energy. So, you know, we're not just talking about your finances, although we could be. We're not just talking about your material assets, although we could be. We're talking about where your attention is focused. Like, with it being a 9, it's all about you and how you manage this and where you put it, where you focus it. And as we know, where attention goes, energy flows. And there's a lot of attention going into you, but it's with the desire to start refashioning the world around you into something. Well, it's speaking to your strengths, Taurus, you know, into something not just more comfortable, but more beautiful for you and those people around you who are also in alignment with the kind of stage of development that you are at too. It feels like for some of you there is this sense of a tribe coming together. Lots of people like you, all at this similar stage of evolution, being like, I'm ready for change, I'm ready to do things differently. I'm ready to start being creative. When we come into May, we have the Justice card, and this is huge. I mean, you've got 3 major arcana cards all sitting together, and you've got the 7 of Wands. And I actually really like the fact that the 7 of Wands is here, because the bull is not a placid animal. It's not a static, dormant creature, you know. It's not a dormouse. It is something assertive, and it will fight if it needs to protect that which it feels is important. We have the Justice card, the Chariot card, and the Star. And it feels like, because of your willingness to realign internally, because of your willingness to get on board with what the universe wants from you. There isn't just a breakthrough here. It feels like there's an incredible power up of you. You're not fighting off this sense that you are special and you are here for something, because indeed we all are. There's an acceptance of that. And in that embrace follows a willingness to put yourself out there in some sort of way. The Chariot card is about goal setting. It's about determination. It's about setting a goal and actually achieving it. It's about picking up momentum and traveling towards something. What are you traveling towards? Your destiny. That's really, really strong. But it's also about that internal balance, because it's a card that speaks of everything to do with the self. And when the self is balanced inside, there is nothing that will stop the momentum. Again, I think it's wild that I'm recording this on the Taurus new moon. I did not set out to do that deliberately, but here we are. And we have the star. We have both the means of travel and we have somewhere that we are trying to go. We have got some a goal, a hope, a dream, an aspiration. You know, the star card is the return of hope. It's a card of healing. It's a card of vulnerability and to some degree exposure too, because obviously she's butt naked here in this card. She's like that because she's got nothing to fear. Like, she does not actually fear being attacked, because she knows whatever comes along she'll be able to cope with that. But this movement towards a more integrated version of self, which probably has a material result also attached to it. There's something here that you're working on and you're driving towards, and it might well be of you. It might be the way that you show up in the world, right? I'm sick of feeling less than. I'm sick of feeling intimidated by people. I'm sick of feeling like I'm not quite as important as everybody else. Putting down my bull hoof and saying, actually, that's not true. I'm here to do a thing, and I'm going to do that thing really strongly. But it's this sense of fighting for your vision. Whether that's got some sort of material goal at the end of it, or whether it's something much more community driven. I mean, I've been saying for 4 years that it's really, really important that you find your tribe, you find your people, and you stick with them. And in fact, we've seen that happen socially over and over again in the last 4 years. There have been waves of this sifting and sorting of the people in your life, and some of them have shown themselves to be something unpleasant and taken themselves out of the way. Others just simply don't see the world in the same way that you do, and that's fine. I think it's important to have a diversity of opinions. I think that's really, really important. But there's something creative for the new world that you seem to be deeply invested in. And a lot of it seems to be principles and integrity led. So we're seeing many more of you being much more active in your community than you might have been usually. And this might just be an uptick in you checking in on people to see if they're okay. But there's a vision that you're working towards, not only for yourself, but the kind of world that you want to live in. And you are prepared to fight for it. There's nothing scaring you. There's nothing intimidating you. It feels like everything's come back to this realization that all of the problems were sitting in here. And quantum physics is now telling us that consciousness is the substrate of the universe. Matter does not beget consciousness. It happens the other way around. And you seem to be so in tune with this as a proposition now. That you've realised if you want things to change, you yourself must change. And you have submitted to that. You have done that. And now, whatever part of your life it feels that the Five of Pentacles is most operative, this then is what is going to change. And the bit of you that is associated with that will also change. Five of Swords and the Eight of Cups with the Temperance card at the bottom of the deck. Another card that deals with healing and hope and equilibrium and balance. It's Sagittarius card right there. But what is it tackling? It's tackling the Five of Swords, where you have quite simply got stuck in cognitive loops about things. Like you understand that you have been repeating a cycle mentally, which has been feeding a certain set of emotions within you that have led to the position whereby you have held opinions about yourself that were less than helpful. I mean, this feels to me, May feels to me like a massive breakthrough month in truly starting to get a sense of how powerful you can be if you believe it. Like, the self-belief is oozing out of every single card here. You know, the Eight of Cups is about emotional release. It's about moving away from something. It's actually, because it's a card that's numbered 8, it really is very tightly associated with the idea of power. Each one of the cards that are numbered 8 in the minor arcana speak in a different way to how power can be perceived, can be used, can be directed by you. But it's also showing you where it has been lacking, where you have given it away. The Eight of Cups is saying that there are emotional situations that you've carried around with you, emotional narratives that you have carried around with you that don't serve you anymore. And power is returned to you when you put those things down, when you refuse to carry them any further. You know, think about each one of these things being some sort of weight that is strapped across your back. You know, you just put it down. You move a little easier. Everything feels much more comfortable than it was before. And it's not necessarily because anything has changed outside of you. It's because that emotional dead weight is not keeping you pinned or making you move much more slowly. Again, it's the combination of the mental and the emotional, tackling both. Right? This Five of Swords is self-sabotage quite often. I mean, it can be lots of other things, but it's self-sabotage. And there is nothing that you can do that will sabotage you more than believe that you can't do something. That's a simple fact. You know, I'm always saying, you know, whether you believe you can do something or whether you don't, you are right in both instances, because self-belief is so critically important. You know, bring in a martial arts analogy, you know, fights in the ring are quite often 90% of that is mental, and 90% of that happens before you even set foot in it. If you believe you can do it, you've got a fighting chance of doing it. If you don't believe you can do it, there's not really any point in trying, because it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. And if that is true, then why shouldn't the self-fulfilling prophecy be, I can do literally anything I put my fucking mind to? I may not have all of the skills, but I can acquire them. I may not have all of the things that I need, but I can acquire them, whether they're mental or emotional or physical, material, whatever. There's an unstoppability about your energy right here when you tackle the things that have been holding you back, and they are simply mental and emotional. That's it. Which means that what's happening from here on out is not just a shift in your circumstances, but it's a dramatic change of your circumstances that likely was always possible for you, because, as I keep saying, potential doesn't switch on and off. When the Ace of anything appears, or when the Fool appears, we're like, oh, great potential. You know, there's all this stuff here, this seed, you can tap into it. And it gives the impression that there are points in life where the door to potential is open for you. The reality of the situation is it's anything but. It's always there. It's just that there are points in time where we are more emotionally, mentally, spiritually, even physically receptive to the idea of there being a well of potential that we can make contact with. That it's always there. The thing that stops us from seeing it is emotional blockages and mental blockages, and you seem to be nuking these straight out of the water. This is a whole new world, a brave new world for you, Taurus. And I think there's been so much that's happened in the last 4 years that's had you really struggling against the shove that was trying to push you out of your comfort zone. It's been hard. It's been really, really difficult. But here you are in May 2024 and you're like, there is no certainty save for that which I have within myself. And that's okay. I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing, and that's okay. Maybe I do know where I'm going, and that's okay, where that would have been terrifying a year ago. Whether it's certain or whether it's not certain. I did a reading for you a couple of months ago. And so I kept seeing these like moving platforms like you'd see in like the Mario Brothers or like Sonic the Hedgehog, something like that, right? The moving platforms. It's fine. You don't have to be right down here on terra firma. You can be on one of these moving platforms and be fluid and flexible and moving around. And you can choose when to jump and you can choose when to stay still. The security, the stability, the solidity for which Taurus is famed is not reliant on environmental conditions. It's not reliant on you getting everything your own way, everything that you want, being there in a very fixed way. It's all internal. And this willingness to take up even more space, become bigger, means that whatever comes, towards you is just something that can be dealt with. The most restrictive thing, the most destabilizing thing, the most, the thing that will strap you down and keep you in a corner is what's going on in here and here. And it's almost like that's dissolving. It's becoming something else. This is really a month for you to not just put yourself outside of your comfort zone, but, trebuchet yourself into the kind of life that you've always dreamed for yourself. Is it all going to arrive immediately? No. But a journey of 1,000 miles must begin with a single step and all that sort of thing. And you're stepping, Taurus. There's no one in the world who is strong enough to stop you from doing anything than you. And you have been the person who stopped yourself. And now you're done. Like I said, there's a feeling that you're sort of bored of holding yourself back now. There's something really quite tedious about it. And it's not going to stand any longer. So it doesn't really matter how big the dream is, because it all just takes consistent Taurian hard work, diligence, and maybe to a degree a certain amount of bullheadedness to get yourself there. Does the bull second guess itself? It does not. Everything about you this month is vibing that, which I think is fucking magnificent, personally. So, I'm going to leave it here, and we're going to start digging into May properly in the extended. So if you'd like to join me over there, you're very welcome to do so. You can do that circle, you can do that on Vimeo. I'd be delighted to see you in either place. And nail down some specifics here, because there's a big end of a cycle that's coming up, and it is so it's so within reach. It's within touching distance. But it's just one last push on the internal and the mental stuff to get you there. And then everything had just been shown, everything just opens up, just blooms like a flower. Which is very exciting indeed. So, if you don't want to see the extended or whatever, that's absolutely fine. I just think you need to start knocking things down, Taurus. Anything that's kind of in the way. And you've had so much practice now at doing this internally that what sits outside of you is of nothing, really. And you're ready for it. Bored of holding yourself back. And ready to throw yourself, metaphorically speaking, into the abyss because you know that you will be fine. This is huge. This is absolutely huge. Right, I'm going to go. Otherwise I'm going to get all effusive. Know that I love you all very, very much. And I'll see you soon.